In 1947, when India got her independence, the map was not like it is today. So after its partition, India was fragmented into 552 princely states, in which 48% of the population stayed. Sardar Patel was the man who unified these states in India and gave us a unified nation in 1949 itself. Indian history during the partition time is foggy and has its roots in the sheer incompetence shown by prominent and powerful leaders of India at that time. This can be shown by the decisions made by them, making them the prime example of what happens if you give few men the power to dictate one fifth of the world's population, the same power that corrupted Adolf Hitler, but at a much larger scale. The power to be worshipped as gods. In 1946, when Maulana Kalam's term as Congress president expired, Congress seeked to elect the next president who would also serve as the first Prime Minister of Free India. Pakistan in 1947 was the epitome of hatred and was considered to have surpassed Nazi Germany by a long shot. Hindus and Sikhs were being kidnapped, raped, and culled faster than mosquitoes. Sardar Patel evacuated millions of people while on a war footing. The refugees were in torn clothes, having lost everything, and led to explosive situations in Delhi and Pakistan. During this period, Sardar Patel visited Amritsar and convinced the refugees to let the Muslims live and go to Pakistan safely, if they wanted to, that is. Here you can see the levels of respect that the Indian people had for Sardar Patel when they obeyed him as if in a trance. In one meeting, he did what prominent leaders could not do in even a decade. Sardar Patel had worked in close contact with the citizens of India as well as the heads of the princely states and was working with Maharaja Hari Singh, ruler of Jammu and Kashmir, when it was under attack by Pakistan. Nehru suddenly decided to take over the princely state without talking to either Vallabhbhai or the parliament. Nehru dealt with war minded Pakistan using peace, the exact opposite of what Sardar Patel had advised him to do, which led to a huge part of India being lost to Pakistan and also the loss of about 2 lakh Hindu and Sikh people due to the war. In 1948, the UNO Commission ruled that the Pakistan's army, nationals, and tribal invaders were to leave POK immediately. But once again, the weak-willed and butter-fingered Indian government let this opportunity slip. They also ignored the letter that Patel sent in 1950, which highlighted how big of a threat China could be. Nehru gave up the chance India had to become a permanent member of the Security Council, handing it to China, and he also lost a huge part of India's land to China in 1962. Some of Sardar Patel's most important policies are: number one, crushing of the Gundaism and crimes. Partition gave the feeling to some that they could do whatever they wanted and get away with it. So Patel believed that this nuisance might seem irrelevant at the time, but would harvest out of control later. He delivered multiple speeches stating that the rule of hooligans must not be tolerated and urged the police and courts to annihilate the gang culture arising in Calcutta. He was invested in the matters of his nation and pulled out the disease from its roots. Number two, irrigation and food grain cultivation. It took the Indian government 18 years to realize that they had to stop importing wheat from the United States and start in-house production using the same map which Sardar Patel had outlined in 1946. India could have avoided multiple famines during the wars with Pakistan and China, which led to millions of deaths and billions of dollars in loss. Number three, heavy spending on the training and development of the Indian Army. Tensions in Pakistan and China, overlooked by the Nehru government, led to the underdevelopment of the Indian Army and India relying solely on externally manufactured weaponry and military equipment. Vallabhbhai Patel planned to change that by the promotion of made in India arms and defense equipment. This would not only increase the availability of jobs in India, but it would also cut the defense spending drastically and preparing India for future conflicts. And most importantly, make India Atmanirbhar when it came to protecting its citizens and its land. This was finally put into action under APJ Abdul Kalam 4 decades later. Number 4, Judiciary. Sardar Patel believed that those willing to sell out their motherland were never to be trusted. He wanted to establish consequences so dire to people high up in the government taking bribes that no one would dare think about committing the act. He said that corruption starts high up in the ranks and is watered down with each level. The security guard getting a 2 rupee bribe is not the problem. The problem is people in charge gulping down lakhs who blame that very guard. They are like snakes. To kill it, you not only have to cut off the head but bury it as well, as the dead snake's head can still bite you. Number 5, involvement of women. After working closely with women for years and seeing the power they held, Vallabhbhai Patel knew that women will be the key to India's success. He requested women to take an active role in voting and politics and not only control their households but also the future of the country as they shaped their opinion of the things. In conclusion, the government handicapped the nation while Sardar Patel would have nurtured it into a superpower. The other leaders germinated corruption, religious hatred, inter disarray, and famine, while Sardar Patel was a beacon of hope, power, will of steel, with a plan to propel India to great heights with Make in India, industrialism, sanitization, involvement of women, and a strong feeling of nationalism.